Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boy Cal. Cal, say what's up.
Hey, I'm ready to rock.
Hey, today we're talking about where to start reading Batman. This is what CBR's article on about reading Batman, and it's actually a pretty good question because Batman is very storied. It's been around, as it says here, 80 years, and like, where do you start? Because I mean, you've had different interpretations of Batman over the years. So I brought my friend himself, Cal, to give us his opinion. I have my own opinion, and let's see how we jive with this. So, Cal, what's your take on it?
You want to start reading Batman, Batman Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli.
Why?
Are you kidding? That gives you those four issues distill what is the Batman character. Okay, you get everything that you need to understand what Batman is all about. It's Gotham City, a city in desperate need of someone to come and be a larger than life figure to help clean it up. Okay, Bruce Wayne, who's now on a mission. Okay, he's on this I don't want to say holy war. Okay, but he's on this particular mission to clean up Gotham, but he still isn't quite there yet. Okay, there's an edge that he needs, and he's not able to put it together. Okay, you can throw in Catwoman's there, so that's okay. But the tie-in series, When in Rome, is actually better than what she was doing within the Batman Year One. And best of all, you actually get to see Commissioner Gordon younger, um, definitely a force within Gotham, and what makes them allies, if not friends, within those early days. So that's the perfect place. That is the perfect place to start. A lot of other people, well, you want to read this stuff where he's journeying around the world and getting his abilities together. Yeah, whatever. Okay, we don't care. We're really not concerned with how well he was doing with you know, with Master Long out there in some mountain. We want to see him clean up Gotham, and this does exactly that.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's definitely there. And actually, the point in fact, they do also mention, Year One is arguably, they said, Miller's most iconic Batman story. Um, I went a little different, and I thought, to me, from my reading of it, The Long Halloween, I thought that really captured the essence of Batman. Particularly starting off.
You're gonna start with the Long Halloween.
I said, yeah, let's get into the character. There's just too much backstory to go back into. It's a good story, is right there. You know. I also like um, Three Jokers, but of course, I wouldn't start with that. I think that's a little too far off. But
Yeah,
here,
you
also,
can't
a lot of
start
people
with
like
that.
the Killing Joke. These are very popular Batman stories. Um,
You can't start with the Killing Joke, and you can't start with the Long Halloween.
I figured the
All
only
the
reason
characters, all,
you go
all the
to,
characters in the Long Halloween are established. Those are all established characters by them.
but it's a popular story. It's a story that people are going to end up liking, and because they like the story, they may say, "All right, let me go back to the beginning and
All
find
right,
out more about
this is
Batman."
sort of like if you're asking me, hey, where should I start reading the Bible? Well, you start reading with Genesis, not just because it's the beginning, okay, but that, that's the place, okay, that's the place that's going to inform everything else going forward. That's where you would do it. So it's the same thing. Once you get to the Long Halloween, all of those characters, okay, those characters are not. This is not the first time he's meeting anybody. This is what I mean. The Long Halloween is taken like this is like in his second year of being Batman. So all of these characters that you see over there, I mean, it's still because the the weird villains like with the Mad Hatter and the Joker and Riddler, that type of stuff, they're still pretty new on the scene, but it's still the traditional crime family that have that are the major thing in Gotham. But the story is really how that changes, how that's the structure of power is going to seed from those boss mafia families to the crazy insane villains. But they're all established. It's not his first meeting with anybody. It's not his first meeting with the Joker or the Riddler or anything of that nature. So as a starting point, you still have to have some idea of the character, some idea of how Gotham works and these things in order to really get this, as opposed to, look, oh, what's the first meeting here? So, I would still go with I mean, and I'm somebody who really enjoyed the Long Halloween. It's it's a good Batman story that I would recommend, but not the starting
Again, I only go back to it. I mean, I was talking to someone else and they were saying Frank Miller's Batman, um, the one when he returns in the future when he's older, like is one of the best stories they considered for Batman. And I thought not because of the age. The question is, what would get you reading Batman? You know, will Batman Year One do that trick? And you're right, Long Halloween definitely pushes you into it, but because of the story, the structure, you see Batman as a detective Batman trying to go through what he's doing, and it gives you a list of characters that you end up seeing that you will see further in Batman's run. And so for me, that's what I would start. That's what I would say. Hey, if you want to find a good Batman story that'll probably get you into Batman, I'd say start there. I get what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. Start at the very beginning, but sometimes the beginning, you know, is not always. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I want to capture this new reader and tell them, hey,
point. Well,
this is
yeah, but we're not starting at. I mean, look, if we were genuinely starting at the beginning, I would tell people to read Detective Comics 27. So the whole idea is we want to give stories where this will give you the best understanding of the character going forward. You know why he's doing what he's doing. The major characters, that sort of stuff. So I'm not because if somebody asked me, hey, where to start reading Superman, I wouldn't tell them Action Comics 1. Okay, I wouldn't tell them Action Comics 1 because, to be quite honest, I think if they start reading there, that is, I don't know if people can expand their minds enough to go and really get Action Comics 1 at the end of the day. Now, if I do a top 10 list of things that you should read, yeah, Action Comics 1 definitely is there. But to start reading, that's not the book that I would recommend. And that would be and that, of course, would be the beginning. So what
what would you recommend?
for Superman?
Yes.
Superman's Secret Origin by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank.
Oh, a Jeff Johns story. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people
Why would
like,
you
oh, the
recommend that?
Burn stuff, but
So why
a lot
would
of
you
people are like,
recommend
oh,
John?
because that is the best balance of the different ages of Superman, golden, silver, modern. That's the best balance where, okay, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel in terms of Krypton. It's not what they like, when Bendis comes over with these conspiracy theories, about what was going on. It's like, no, this is the situation. The planet's going to explode. Kid gets there. We get to see his upbringing in Smallville. It's an ideal. We get Crypto. He has a career as Superboy. He goes to Metropolis. He has his first adventures there. He becomes, he gets established with the people. We get to see Lois Lane come in. We get to see Jimmy Olsen, Perry White. Okay. And then some of the other things that this was some stuff they were trying to do at the time as well. They really wanted to put him as, your miles may vary on this, but they wanted to put him as independent. So they have him set they have the United States Army as looking at him as a potential threat.
They
Okay,
should.
so
Should.
he's dealing with that. But that was like a popular notion around that time that if you're a superhero, if you're someone with powers or something of that nature, that the government the government's going to be after you, or the government made you, or there's no way that the government wouldn't get involved in the whole thing. So you do have that as a backdrop. But he gets introduced. We got Lex Luthor, the Parasite, Metallo in that series as well. So that is a perfect starting point. It's a perfect starting point because even if the Superman book itself, even the Superman book itself isn't, has different things going on, or even it's been rebooted, that origin right there gives you everything that you need to know about the character. And you get to see pretty much all of the characters that are still in play. Crypto is still in play, Parasite, Metallo. This isn't like you're reading like an origin from the 70s and you have to ask people, well, who the heck is Terror Man? So, that works very well over there. Batman, Batman Year One, you got everybody you need. Batman, Alfred, Commissioner Gordon, and the biggest character of all, the Gotham City.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Then, I mean, um, is there another comic that you could give a recommendation for that you would restart? Where which people should start?
For you
Like,
mean for another superhero? For another superhero? Or for Batman?
No, not for Batman. I'm saying, so if you were telling people what superheroes to look at, you think these guys are good. What series do you think will capture a particular hero, like Green Lantern, for example? Or, I mean, what are the books that if you're reading that you would recommend? That they do a great job of reintroducing the character, or has a great origin story to be done or retold.
Oh well, I don't know. I mean, most of them, I think a lot of them, their initial appearance is pretty much it. Like for Spider-Man, I would always say, you can start reading with Amazing Fantasy 15. That's you know, none of the reboots ever really stuck better than that. Amazing Fantasy 15 gives you everything that you need to know about the character. Everything. Why he's doing what he's doing, how he comes into being. Everything that you need to know about Peter Parker, him being Spider-Man. Everything is right there. And then some of the other ones, I mean, the other problem with some of them is some of them don't really like Wonder Woman. If you would ask me like, hey, where should you start reading Wonder Woman? I'll probably tell you good luck.
Well, I mean, the Perez run, or the
Perez
guys.
run, Perez is a very competent, very strong run. Very strong run. The trouble is where the character is now in comparison to where she was then is very, very. I mean, you understand that when Wonder Woman was first introduced, she was 5'8", and now she's 6'2".
I guess she was five. She was tall for the time at 5'8", and since women have
No, no, no. She was 5'8". She was 5'8" because that's tall for a woman. The idea was that she was still a woman, at the end of the day. And then we've done Mission Creep because she's still, if you look at the comics, she's still like Superman, Batman is still taller than her. So I'm like, well, how tall are these guys now? Like 6'5"? So they decided to do this whole. I mean, you can see exactly what it is. She's, the only way she's going to be competent or being around the Justice League or anything is that she's got to be able to look these dudes in the eye, and she's got to be just as tall. But at 6'2" from 5'8", she didn't just gain more powers; she gained more height, which doesn't usually happen with a lot of the characters. Wolverine didn't go from 5'3" to 6 feet. It just didn't, it didn't happen. Even if his healing factor got, got a lot more powerful. So with some characters, I would, like, hey, good luck because you could read the Perez run and think, oh wow, this was really good. But then if you go read this stuff now, you're like, well, wait a second, you're almost looking at two different characters. So sometimes it can be hard. It can really be hard to get it. The let's see, if it was, I'm trying to think, like Captain America, John Byrne's retelling of Captain America's origin. That's a perfect place to start. That was done, that was again executed very well, answering some questions you probably didn't even realize that you knew you had regarding his mask, regarding his shield, a bunch of things of that nature. So, that's a good one. That's a good place to start. But then you have a character like Thor, and I can recommend good run for Thor, but in terms of where he is now and the stuff that I would recommend to read, he's really distant from any of that stuff. So it can be a pretty, it can be dodgy depending on the character. But and by that I just mean if I'm telling you where to start reading, because I would want to tell you where to start because that's the best place in line with where the character is right now. And then some of these characters have made such drastic changes that there's almost no recommendation I could give. I could just give you some good storylines, but they really wouldn't prep you for where the character is right now because they've made such a fundamental change of what the character is.
Well, I mean, you talk about the writers have done that, right? Not necessarily. They've changed from what the different versions of Thor. I mean, we've gone from Thor just being the son of Odin. Now at one point, he's different variations. You have Rune King, um, Thor. You have Odin Power Thor, whatever. So it's just, yeah, it's super. I mean, he's basically like the Celestials, and then he's there too. That powerful, basically. So yeah, I could see it could get pretty confusing trying to figure out which one. I mean, I think of the Guardians of the Galaxies. I'm trying to think of what is one series that would automatically, or one run that was that gets it. So someone goes in there, they can understand what's going on. You know, I mean, with Spider-Man, at least, I was hoping like Craven's Last Hunt, right? It's like that's to me a good story. You know, you go in there, you read it, you're like, it's not what I would have thought typically of Spider-Man, but I was like, oh, this is, him.
Yeah, but that's not a Spider-Man story. That's Craven's story.
It's a Craven story, but it's a Spider-Man. But then you also have Spider-Man Blue,
If you
right?
were asking me, if you ask me, hey, I love Craven the Hunter. Where should I start reading? I would tell you, Fearful Symmetry. That's the hands down best Craven story done.
Hmm.
Okay, but Spider-Man is out of that. He's gone for most of that story. He gets shot in the first issue, and then it's all about Craven.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
That's really him. So like, okay, cool. It's tough. It is tough. It's especially the characters that have been around for a while, and I expect a natural progression, a logical and linear progression when it comes to the character. But that also means that this character's foundation is so strong that you really can't get away from it. You can't get away from Batman's foundation. It's bedrock. You can't get away from Superman. Same thing. Spider-Man, same thing. But then I also realized that those characters are archetypes. And it's very difficult to get archetypes away from their foundation because they're archetypes. So, they tend more not than often to still, hover, or they're going to be localized to that center of gravity to keep to keep them where they're supposed to be. But then a character like, I mean, again, a character like Wonder Woman, I look at the character now, and she was created to be a contrast to what was seen to be the violence, okay, of the male heroes. She was supposed to be in contrast to that. And now she's running around 6'2", wagging a sword at anything that moves. And you're like, well, hey, that's very far away from where she was created to be. And I look at stuff like that. I look at stuff like the height, the sword, the armor. That she's deemed to be the best melee fighter on the planet, and they just progressively made her more masculine over time, because they don't understand the foundation of this particular character. I don't think a lot of writers and readers understand the foundation of the character. Just feel that she's a woman and she needs to be seen as competent or uber confident at the end of the day. And so, hey, what makes her look better than being 6'2" and wearing armor and fighting, doing all this hand to hand fighting at the end of the day? But that was never her mission.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Wonder Woman is definitely going to be a top one there. But hey,
Yeah. Oh, Hulk. Oh man, Hulk is easy. You really want to get you if you really want to get the best place to start reading for the Hulk, man.
if
Because
you
I
want,
really think, huh?
issue one.
Yeah, I'm like, I would say issue one. Man, that's really tough. I would say issue one, but there's a retelling of his origin as well that I think is also very good. But you know what? Yeah, issue one. I don't think you really need to go. That's the character. You got everything that you need right there. Some of those characters aren't around anymore, but yeah, his origin story is, yeah, that's pretty spot on. It's pretty spot on.
I mean, let me put your comic book hero hat on. Tell me if this is true. Someone said that probably one of the most valuable comics around for Hulk is the um, Wolverine Hulk comic. I can't imagine that's worth more than the original Hulk comic. Is that
No
true?
way. No, no, absolutely not. None of that. Hulk 181, I don't think exceeds the value of any of the first six issues. Okay, because people don't remember that the Hulk was canceled after six issues.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
Okay, Hulk was canceled after six issues, so definitely not the first. Definitely not the first three. Definitely not the first three, and I don't believe any of the first six issues, because to be quite honest, those are going to be a lot more rare than Hulk 181 easily. Okay, that book was not. That was not. That's probably one, and that's, oh, those Marvel books, because well, I'm definitely got the comic book hero hat on. Marvel, the distribution of Marvel books wasn't as great then as it would be later. Not only because they were with the new characters, but because they were had the same distributor as DC Comics, and DC was like, hey, don't give these guys any light. So DC, had more shelf space, all of that type of stuff. So the Marvel books you tended to have to look for, which means you weren't gonna, they just weren't as plentiful. They weren't as plentiful as like a DC comic, or one of the other competitors. That would change after Marvel was able to get out of their contract and go to a different distributor. So you're looking at a book that one wasn't going to be heavily distributed, but then also two wasn't a top seller for them, hence it got canceled. So that's just going to put it in the rare category. There are probably more copies of 181 than of 1 through 6 combined in terms of the numbers that were published, and then the numbers that exist, right now. So I mean, it's 181 is definitely one of the biggest Hulk keys, but the first 6 issues are definitely are going to retail higher in value.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, thanks for that. That's definitely the comic book hero hat. Um, but what about the Hulk Gray? Does that help? I know that was very popular. I've never read it, so
That's that's not really a place to start reading. You need some backstory to really get into that, because all of those stories that Jeff Loeb did, Daredevil Yellow, Captain America Fight, Spider-Man Blue, Hulk Gray, all of those stories he did go back to earlier days in the character, but it's for people who know the character today, hence why you understand what's going on right there in this particular or pivotal moment in their history. Because it's like Daredevil's still in his yellow costume, Hulk is still gray before he'll become green. So you still have to have an understanding of the character. That's not a place I would start. I would start anyone. That's more of a it's hmm, it's a pocket story, which is one of the reasons why I won't tell people to read John Byrne's Superman, because the Superman is so different. Is so different from what was being done with him in the Man of Steel series by John Byrne. And a lot of guys just remember it fondly, but they're not making the connection between where the character is today and right there. Because if you read that story, you'd be like, oh my goodness, who is this guy? His cape is being shredded. He's getting knocked out. What the hell? And then you read the Superman today, and Superman's like traveling from one side of the universe to the other by teleportation. So it's really tough to place that one. It's like it exists almost in its own pocket universe, if you will, which is ironic because of what they did to Superboy with the pocket universe. In order to keep the post-crisis stuff within the symmetry that was established. But that Superman right there is a lot closer to the Golden Age Superman of 1938, who's very distant from where Superman is right now. So you really want to have a start where, okay, it can put you in line with where the character is. It's troublesome when that character is like just really gone, far from wherever their origins were and from any of the seminal stories that might have been given about them. But thankfully, characters like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, they're pretty much there. Thor, eh, they did a number on the Odin son.
yeah, I know. But hey, you forgot one of the Marvel's top guys though. They've done a reboot of his origin.
Ooh, hold on, don't tell me. They did. No, not him.
Wolverine.
But he didn't. I mean, you can't really call it a reboot. He didn't have an origin. They had to give him one.
Okay, fine.
He didn't have it. He didn't have an origin for a long time. He didn't have an origin for a long time.
Now he has a hell
And
of a.
then they finally gave him that origin story with they gave him Origin, then they did Origin 2, then they did Wolverine Origins, because they're like, hey, like you just said, like this is the origin that's never gonna stop. We can always go back into the past and add just one more thing.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to say he was fighting it. He goes back to the dawn of time. He was around. He was with King Tut, or he was fighting with Ramatet. So
Yeah, I mean, it, one they gave him a longer lifespan because of his healing factor. And so now he could, I mean, this dude could pop up, for all we know, Wolverine could have been a Roman gladiator. He could get sent back in time and just exist, all through Rome and this, that, and the other. It'll be no problem because his healing factor will keep him young enough, and all this nonsense that they'll do with his character. But he didn't. I mean, for the longest point, he didn't have an origin. We weren't even sure of his name. People just called him Logan. What's your last name? Logan.
it's true. It's true.
So,
Okay. Sorry.
I could give you some great, I could definitely but that would be different because if you would tell me if you would ask me, hey, where should I start reading with Wolverine? Easy, the Wolverine limited series, easy.
Which one? He's had several.
No, the very first one. Any you say Wolverine limited series, everybody knows what that means. That's the very first one. The very first one. The other ones all have these other titles. The very first one is just Wolverine. Then you'll get like Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, and Wolverine. Wolverine meets. Wolverine meets Jesus 2, Electric Boogaloo, whatever they want to call that one. But you still got that very first one. Everybody knows the first that 4-issue limited series. Chris Claremont, Frank Miller on art. Perfect place to start.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's definitely a big help, and I hope our subscribers are able to listen to that, and they're interested to grab it. So
Yeah,
listen,
if you got questions, hit us up. We'll be more than happy to let you know.
okay. Anything else? Any other characters before we move on?
Hmm. Let me think. I was trying to think of something that would be really hard, like Dazzler. Like,
Yes.
yeah, like a character nobody really cares about that much. Like, hey, where's the best place to start reading for this character? Like who? Dazzler. You're like, whoa, man.
Well,
That would be tough. Hmm?
Shang-Chi, they changed him up a bit.
No,
Shang-
Shang-Chi. No, Shang-Chi and Marvel Special Edition is still the best place to start for him. That's still the best place to start for him. All the other stuff, I mean, they thankfully they've changed him. Still in that linear progression. It's not something where he just made a left turn and circled down, that type of stuff. So that I mean, did you ever read his origin story?
I'm not sure. I didn't. I don't think I read the Wolverine limited series. I think I read others, but not that one.
Yeah, Marvel Special Edition. That is a great origin story, and it's still very much Shang-Chi, even though they had to abandon Fu Manchu once they lost the rights. They lost the rights to him. Marvel did, but the origin doesn't. The origin hasn't dissipated at all. It's just really, really good. You know, other characters like if you were to say Shang Chi, I could say the origin. If you said Iron Fist, I'd be like, good luck. I don't know what to tell you. They did a lot of tinkering with him. Power Man would still be that first issue. Hero. Luke Cage, hero for hire. You would still have that. I'm really just trying to think of something like something a bit like off the beaten trail. Like, hey, what would be a good place? But that would be like wild stuff if somebody came to you and said like, hey, what's like the best comic book for me to read so I can better understand King Arthur? That would stop.
Like anyway, it can't be the Black Knight, can it?
What for King Arthur? No, because in order for the Black Knight is the Black Knight, and in order to really understand the Black Knight, you have to already understand King Arthur, Merlin, and the Knights of the Round Table.
But there is no King Arthur Marvel comic. So,
Yes, there is. That's why you have the Black Knight.
but I'm saying you said the Black Knight, right? That's the only comic that I could think of.
I'm not. Hold on. I'm not sure what you're saying
I'm
here.
saying, what comic would you read if you wanted to understand Arthur? Where to start with Arthur? Where?
No, I just said that would be tough. I just said it wouldn't be impossible. The
Okay.
Black Knight is created. The
But,
Black Knight is created by Merlin.
mhm.
Merlin Merlin finds this meteor. He extracts the metal from it. He creates the ebony blade, and the ebony blade is given to Sir Percy as one of the Knights of the Round Table. He's supposed to be like the ace in the hole, for Merlin, because they're still fighting this war against Morgan Le Fay. and Merlin's doing his best to try to keep that at bay. So Percy's working to be that, extra knight, if you will, who can go and challenge her with all her magical machinations. But you have to understand, what's going on. That what it is that Merlin's fighting against. He's fighting against fate. He knows this is going to happen. He's just trying to delay it as long as possible. Why Morgan Le Fay, hates Arthur? You have to. Those are things that you would have to know coming in. So it helps to. You really have to understand that story so you can understand the need for a knight like Sir Percy.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean,
Inside the comics,
there.
wouldn't be able to read that inside the comics.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if I put my mind to it, I could come up with something like King Arthur or Zorro, that type of stuff. It would just be that would be more, that would be more challenging. Oh, last one I'll say, if you want to know where to start reading for like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, just start right there. I don't know if it gets much better after that. But
It was a while.
that book blew me away because I didn't read that at first because I didn't know anything about turtles. The I heard like in the cartoon when I saw it too. I think my brother loved it. I still know the theme song because I guess he watched it. He played the video game, and I was just like, this is stupid. Like, I don't care about these turtles. And then I got a chance to see, the my uncle had a copy, so he was kind enough to let me read it, and I read it. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And that is the only turtle story, yeah, to the best of my recollection, that is the only turtle story I have ever read. Issue number one. I have never read anything other than that. But my love for turtles, my respect for them, it stems from that issue. Okay, and those characters have not really strayed very far from that. So that is always a good place to start with the turtles. It Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number one, and then you can jump wherever it is that you want to go.
Okay, interesting. I didn't think of that one at all. But thank you very much, Cal. So let's wrap it up. Spinner rack.
We're out.